First scrimmage of the spring, first time having the officials out there working with the clock. Probably the positives in my mind were our wide receiver play and running back play. I thought we did some really good things, creating explosives. I thought, all four of our new guys that transferred in all made plays that were impactful, including Gary Gibbons with a great catch on that last series in the blue zone period. And so I thought that was a huge positive from an offensive standpoint. The negatives from an offensive standpoint was just some basic operational things. We had a lot of snaps that were on the ground, perimeter blocking the first time you get the officials out there. We got some holding calls that negated some explosive plays. So those are things that obviously we need to continue to work on and clean up. From a defensive standpoint, like I told them after the scrimmage, there's the two things that are always going to show up in these. And we can't really simulate live tempo the way it's going to be when you're playing football with officials. And so I think the tempo got him a little bit, and then tackling always shows up in a first scrimmage where, we've been working tack tempo or thud tempo in practice, and now we're out there playing real football. And so a lot of things to clean up on both sides. I felt like there was good competition. I think the guys competed hard. There was some good physical play. I thought all the quarterbacks, did some good things. I think it'll be time to, obviously this is an important one, go over it kind of with a fine-tooth comb. We've kind of balanced the reps with those guys in the first couple of weeks of spring ball. When we get back from spring break, we've kind of got to get in a pecking order so that we can start to get more rhythm and get more consistency with the wideouts and with the ones, the twos, and the threes. So happy to take any questions.
Yeah, just if you could just touch a little bit just on the scrimmage and what you liked out of it today out there, and your biggest takeaways from it, just from initial thoughts.
We got some playmakers on the perimeter. I think that showed up. When we get the ball to those guys in space, they can do something with it, and they can go attack the ball in the air, which was a problem for us pushing the ball vertically down the field last year, so I was pleased with that. I think we've got a really deep and talented running back room. We had some young offensive linemen that we held out, our two tackles, and our young offensive lineman, I thought, went out there and competed and did a good job. And then we got a really good look at a lot of young guys on defense as well. Dylan's not going to take a lot of snaps in the spring. And, he goes out there, swats one ball, and I'm like, oh, I've seen enough. And so we got opportunities for guys like Cam Brown and Brandon, a transfer from Indiana State, and then Miles, who was playing a decent amount of football for us at the end of the year last year, but coming off that ACL from a year ago, he needed to get a little bit more work. So I thought there were some positives there. I think our tackling was the negative, in my opinion, right? When you're playing real football, those guys kind of get programmed in practice to stop when the whistle blows. Well, the whistle's going to blow when the guy's on the ground now. So I think from a positive and negative standpoint, that's kind of what I saw.
Did you just touch on the quarterback battle a little bit now, 2 weeks in?
Yeah, I think that competition raises everybody's performance, and I felt like the three top guys all did some really, really good things. All three of them were able to lead touchdown drives at one point in time or another during the scrimmage. There was some sloppiness with some issues with the snap, but some of that was on the quarterbacks, right? They got to be able to catch the freaking ball first and then worry about what the read is. And so some of that type of stuff I'd like to see be a little cleaner just in terms of the basic operation stuff. But I thought those guys missed a couple reads here and there. That's going to happen, but by and large, we didn't throw any interceptions today. And I thought that was good. They took care of the football. They got out of the pocket when it was appropriate for them to do that. And as I said, they were able to put the ball in the end zone, which is the goal.
Are there any newcomers that have taken some further steps along at this point in?
I'd say a couple of guys that stand out. I think there's a lot of guys that are doing some really good things, but a couple of guys that stand out from an offensive standpoint. Gary Gibbons has been very, very impressive, and J.C. Dawson has done some good things. Damian Morgan in the slot, and then really we didn't have an opportunity to get a lot of work with early in camp with Donnie Cheers, who's had a little bit of a sprained ankle, and now he caught the ball. You could see what his skill set is today. So I think that's been those new wideouts have kind of impressed. At running back, kind of a new guy in the room is Janarius Jackson, and he had a good day, I thought. Ran behind his pads well and was very efficient. So those guys, I've been pleased with them. Defensively, Jeremy Naborn has been a guy that I think continues to get better and better at the off-the-ball linebacker position. But Utu and Alosio, all three of those guys at linebacker, we've been very pleased with. And in the back end, we've kind of got a new group. But, Larry Turner-Gooden, Webby's done some good things. I think there's been some, and Zion Jones at corner is a guy that he's got good length, and I think is going to provide some real competition for us there. So I'm pleased with some of those guys.
Are there any position groups that you feel like are maybe a little bit further along than you anticipated at this point in camp?
I would say off the ball backer. I think we've been better than I thought we were going to be. I think getting EJ back, we missed him down the stretch last year. He's probably our best off the ball player. And I think his knowledge of the system, but also the athleticism of some of those guys that are around him, I think that's been a good group. I've enjoyed watching those guys progress early in camp.
What do the next 2 weeks look like for, I guess 3 weeks because spring break, so.
Take a break here, get back, and we've got to get into more situational work. We've kind of just been playing ball, focusing on us, fundamentals, doing our installs. So we've got to get into half, into game situations, backed up. Some situational work is what I'd like to focus on down the stretch, and then kind of keep it simple and have some fun when we go to Fallon.
Any more questions, Coach?
I have a couple more unless.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess if you could just talk on how valuable this time is, especially for the guys on offense with these new position coaches out there.
New system, new language. It might be a similar play that we've run in the past, but it's got some nuances to it, and it's also going to have some different verbiage. And especially our young guys today, I could see them struggling with some of the communication and processing that information. So the more times that we can meet, walk through, practice with this system is going to be advantageous for us as we get into the summer. So we want to try to kind of stretch this out a little bit longer than we normally would if we had a veteran roster or we didn't have new install and new words and language on that. But it's beneficial to everybody because we got a lot of young players on defense that we're going to be counting on in the fall as well.
Yes, if you could just talk on Brett and just your thoughts just these couple weeks into camp and how he's commanding the offense.
Yeah, well, I think he's got a plan, and he knows what he wants it to look like. He knows based on he's run the system for a while, and he's been a part of the system for even longer, and so he's got banked reps on, hey, defenses are going to play us certain ways, and when they do this to us, this is how we can counter punch that. And I think he's done a good job there. I think there were some things in protection today that we've got to get cleaned up. We missed some protections with the backs, but those guys will get better at that as we get more repetitions.
Are there any off the field things that you guys have planned before the scrimmage out in Fallon, or any community
we have
stuff?
All kinds of stuff actually. I think we're gonna have tailgating. Sounds like the Coach Connor's father-in-law is the mayor of Fallon, and so they're gonna treat us right when we get to town. And we've got some fan engagement stuff that we're going to do during the game. I know there's going to be I think we're talking about maybe doing a little youth clinic before we get started, and there's also going to be some cheerleading stuff, and we'll integrate that into the scrimmage, and we'll have some stuff planned for before the scrimmage in terms of the tailgate and just interaction and some cool stuff afterwards as well. So stay tuned. That'll be coming out soon.
Okay. But there will be the Betonio and the Corbett camp
Yep.
the day after. So I guess for those guys to be able to continue coming back here and dedicating their time to this program, if you could speak on them.
Well, I think it's just like what Northern Nevada and this university meant to them, and that's obviously that they feel an obligation to give back. You think about, both, it's kind of impressive, both of those young men, I guess they're not as young as they once were, but those guys have both been their organization's Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee at one point in time or another. And so I think that speaks volumes about what kind of men those guys are, and I think it's awesome that they continue to come back and give back to the place that gave them a platform. This is home for Austin, but this became home for Joel, and so I think that's really, really cool. And I think it's cool that we do our thing on Friday night, so our players can be a part of it on Saturday.
Just last thing, I think, just how much further along do you feel like at this point in camp that you've been than these previous two camps?
I don't know that it's further along. I feel like from a defensive perspective, our guys, they know the defense, they know the structure, so we've been able to get through some things pretty quickly. But I think it doesn't matter where you're at, how many guys you have coming back, if it's a brand new roster, you always got to start from scratch. You can't make any assumptions, and really coach them like they're in 8th grade and they're just learning it for the first time, and then let them grow from there.